Recruiting is about to heat up. I'm going to give you 3 absolute studs that Boston College could land in the next month. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, recruiting. We're hitting that point of the cycle where things are going to start getting fast and furious. Boston College, in the next month, has a series of camps and official visits set up with some of the best recruits that you've seen in BC history. Some of the biggest names that you probably have heard of in the last couple of years are coming on campus. And this is exciting news because, let's be honest, the 2023 class right now doesn't have the same shine as in years past. We've talked a lot about that on this podcast. But on today's show, I'm going to give you 3 names of 3 really exciting recruits that kind of hit all those marks to really bring up the profile of this class, to give you those jewels that you need to have a top 25, top 30 class. And I'm going to give you the names of 3 guys that I think are realistic for Boston College to land. I'm not just going to throw names out there and say, here's a 5-star Boston College offered, here's another 5-star BC offered. That doesn't matter. I want to give you guys that I think will commit. So for that sake, I'm going to tell you right now, Samson Okanlola, who was on campus last week, I'm sorry, but I'm not putting him on my list for this because I don't think it's a realistic option at this point. He did an unofficial visit with Boston College last week on Friday. I think he went with a bunch of his teammates. It seemed to me that this was a just being respectful to Hafley and his staff to show up. You know, he took pictures, he did a few things. BC's not in his top 5 for a reason, and so he's not going to be on my list. Ronan Hanafin, he's like borderline, so he's another 4-star wide receiver from Massachusetts. But man, he's got so many big offers. He's up there, but he's not going to be on my list for today. I have 3 guys I think are much more obtainable for BC, and I'll explain why in just a minute. My first one, this is a name many recruiting heads around this area may not be super familiar with. But you go down south to Georgia, this is a name everyone's going to be talking about soon. And it's a running back Boston College is in really good shape with, and his name is Dantavious Broswell. He's a 5'11", 200-pound running back from Sandersville, Georgia at Washington County High School. He's a 2023 class recruit, and you got it, he's a 4-star. He's the 23rd ranked running back according to 247, and the 29th ranked recruit in Georgia. Again, you got a lot of good talent in the Georgia area. Now, fans that want to know, what do they always ask for? They want to know, what's his offer list? Well, glad you asked. He has 21 offers. Now look at some of the schools that are in on him. Alabama, Florida State, Louisville, Minnesota, NC State, Nebraska, Oregon, Penn State, South Carolina, Tennessee. You name it, they've offered him. And the best part with all this is BC is in good shape with this kid. He's a 5'11", 200-pound bowling ball, and I think BC needs that. You know, they did a nice job last year of bringing in that different type of back that can do a lot of things in that offense. They can catch the ball, that are quick. That, you know, they got the quick guys. You know, they have CJ Klingscales, Alex Brum, and Cam Barfield all have that. You know, smaller than 5 feet. I would say 5 feet. Smaller than 6 feet, less than 200 pounds, smaller quick backs. But you need those downhill runners, those big physical backs. And that's what Broswell is. He doesn't have this. He's a little smaller than Pat Garwo, but he still could give you that. And I think when you start to see, like, so it's 2023, you're going to have like one more year of Garwo you're going to need someone else to do that. Now, Andre Hines might be able to do that, but you want to make sure that you have some depth in that big physical running back, and this kid would do that. And he would be the highest ranked running back BC has landed since A.J. Dillon. And it comes from Georgia, hits the southern roots. You're hitting all those marks with a kid like Broswell. Now, the key to this is that he hasn't had a official visit scheduled yet to BC. And I don't believe he's named an official visit to anyone yet. He's actually been pretty quiet of late. He's had a few offers, but really his last thing that we've heard about was him getting an offer from Penn State. So, I think Broswell could be a guy that has a monster offer list, but he's kind of like that tweener in terms of like interest from the big schools, that a school like BC could really pump him up, tell him all about what he could do here, show him the Andre Williams, the A.J. Dillons, the Willie Greens, the Montel Harrises, and say, hey, you could be the next to this guy. And I think that could get him here. So he'll be a name to watch for, but I think BC's in good shape with him. And I think there might be a name that you're going to want to watch for moving ahead in the 2023 class. And BC already has their smaller running back in this class. They have the kid from Catholic Memorial High School in Massachusetts, Dottrell Jones. I think of him more of the same line as the Brooms, the Klingscales, the Sinkfields, those types of players. It would be a nice lightning and thunder mix to get both of these guys in for the upcoming class. So we'll have to stay tuned on this one. This one's more in the early stage. We got some that are in the further stage that we'll talk about in a minute. But BetOnline is your place that you're going to want to go to for all your sports betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds and news in sports development, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even NFL futures. They had basketball futures on there that I loved. I went on earlier this week and I picked Heat to beat the Celtics in Game 1, but then I put a little side action that the Celtics are going to win the entire conference. So you can do little fun things like that and add a little bit of flair to your bets on BetOnline. So head on over to BetOnline. They're your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Head on over to BetOnline, where the game starts. This is Locked On Boston College. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. And make sure to check out the Locked On NBA Big Board with host Raphael Barlow and NBA draft junkies and authors of the NBA Big Board newsletter, who is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leith Lewin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I think we should, when we're talking about these other shows that have like the NBA draft, it makes me think and I think people have asked before, who will be the next Boston College player drafted? It's been since Jerome Robinson. Right now, it's a bit of a stretch to say any of them, right? Jaden Zachary is good, but is he NBA good yet? No. And so you have to wait to see how he progresses. But, I love to hear about how other team players and guys that we've seen play BC, like Pablo Banchero and, Chet Holmgren of Gonzaga, see how they're doing. You can check out that show. It's a great one. But we're not talking about NBA right now. We're talking about the college football recruiting that's going on with Boston College. And I gave you the first of some of the exciting names that I think Boston College is going to be involved with. These are the names that are going to keep you excited about this upcoming class. They'll be the crown jewels, I think. And so the first one we talked about was Dantavious Broswell. The second one is further along in his journey, but has a lot of connections to Boston College, and that's Antonio Cotman Jr. Now, he is a 3-star, but he's just right on the edge of a 4-star with lots of offers that from Life Christian Academy in Virginia, and he's class of 23. He's a defensive back. We just talked about a running back. There's a defensive back. I think it's funny because I think a lot of folks are like, oh man, BC, all Jeff Hafley does is recruit defensive backs. I think they only recruited 2 in the last class. So that first class, obviously he kind of piled on, but I think this last class has been a lot quieter. And you got to remember too, in that class of 21, 2 of those names are gone already. Sean Asbury transferred and Sean Gates never made it on campus. And Denzel Blackwell, I think he might have been Hafley too. He's gone. So there's been some attrition there. So they're going to be going for quite a few defensive backs in this class. And they already have Carter Davis, a safety from Maryland. But Cotman fills that role of the big, lengthy defensive back that kind of fills the role of what Brandon Sebastian did. He is big. He's 6'2". He's 190. And he's physical. He's fast. He plays with a fire under him. I think BC secondary, it's kind of their bread and butter right now. It's kind of the identity that they've created. I think Cotman fits that perfectly. And, he's further along in his process than Broswell, who we just talked about. He has his top 5. If you were on BC Bulletin earlier this week, Boston College made his top 5, along with Arizona State, Virginia Tech, Maryland, and Ole Miss. Now, who is in the top echelon of that group of 5? I honestly think it's 2 schools right now. Ole Miss, I don't think so, unless they start doing what Lane Kiffin does, which is probably roll a whole dump truck full of money at his house, which, hey, can't blame the kid if that's what he chooses. But I think it's going to probably be Virginia Tech and a battle between Virginia Tech and BC. Virginia Tech is obviously his home state school, and they're the ones showing interest in him, so I think they're probably the leader right now, but don't discredit BC. Cotman was on campus last June when they had that big barbecue for recruits. He was there with his coach. I think it was his coach that was with him on an unofficial visit. He's coming back in June. I think it's the weekend of June 12th for his official visit. Again, for those folks out there, let me just rewind again to slow it down. If you don't know the difference between an official visit and an unofficial visit. Unofficial visits you can take anytime. You can go anywhere. I mean, if you want to visit all 135 schools, you can go do that if you want to, if you can afford it. That is on your own dime. That kind of is the way to kind of meet the staff, go check it out, go see the facilities, meet the players, that kind of thing. An official visit is on the school's dime. You get 5 of those, okay? I think it's 5. It's 5. And you're allowed to do that, and it's usually a whole weekend. You get hosted by a player. You do all they do all the big stuff. They take you a picture. They have you meet the entire staff, watch film with the kid. They do all, it's the whole 9 yards to bring them in. And to get named on an official visit is a big deal. It's kind of like the Okanlola thing I was saying earlier. He didn't put BC down as an official visit. Now, that could be just because he's a local kid, but most times, if you don't get an official visit, that usually means you're probably not considering that school as highly. Cotman has his official visit next month. That will be critical for Boston College to really put the pressure, if that's who they want. If Cotman's near the top of their boards, and there's a ton of good talent on their secondary list, so it might not be, but it might be. If he is, this is a chance for them to really switch the board around a little bit, right? To get Virginia Tech down a level and get them up. So if you want Antonio Cotman to come here, that's going to be the visit you're going to want to watch for. He also, if you are not part of it already, we have a BC Bulletin premium feature. It's only $1 for the first month. It's like a cup of coffee for less than a price of a gallon of gas at this point. To get it each month. I have 3 or 4 recruit interviews in the queue right now. I have a big board. I do predictions, all sorts of good stuff. It's going to get really crazy for the next couple months. You can sign up for the next couple months for $1 for the first month. And I was saying, why I bring this up is because I talked to Cotman earlier, and it was only for premium members. And I'll tell you what he said, because it was only over a year ago. When I asked him what he thought about BC, and he said it reminded him of Harry Potter, which I think a lot of fans have heard. But it was funny hearing a football player say that. So he got the same impression. You go to BAP's library, it's literally like Hogwarts in there. So he felt the same way. But he is exciting. He's big. He would be one of the biggest in terms of size. Defensive backs that Boston College has landed under Jeff Hafley. Most guys they get are like between 5'11" and 6'1". He's 6'2". A nice big defensive back I think would work really well in Jeff Hafley's secondary. And in our final one, I'm going to tell you about the biggest recruit BC is going after and could land. The most exciting name that you probably don't even know about. You're going to want to hear about that name in just a moment. Now, if you know me, you know I am a huge fan of the Built Bar, and they have a new puff. We had the birthday cake puff, but they've moved on to the brownie batter puff, which, I mean, if you love brownies, how can you love them even more? Try the brownie batter. Sometimes I eat half the batter just while I'm making the brownies. Imagine if you could lick the brownie spatula clean and get some protein in. You're in luck because Built has a new creation, and this one's better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. This puff takes protein bars to a whole new level, and they're available right now on Built.com. Built is perfect for the summer, right? So you all know me. I have 2 kids, and I have one that can eat Built bars, one that's too small. But when I go on the move, when I have a million things to go on, I always throw a Built bar in my bag, and it is perfect to give me some fuel and energy to get through, trips to the park, trips to the beach with my son. It is absolutely perfect. And the best part is they're super delicious. They taste like a treat, but they're filled with protein, so you're not going to be grabbing for chips and other junk later on in the day. I love Built bars because they're 100% covered in milk chocolate. I think you will too. So go to Built.com and check out their selection. They have a kick-butt selection there at Built.com. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you're going to get 15% off your order. Remember, it's not just your first order. Anytime you go to Built.com and make an order, you can use LOCK15 today, tomorrow, over and over again if you want to. Then they give you 15% off every single time you use it. So use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Locked On Boston College, we are giving you 3 names in the recruiting cycle for the class of 2023 that are going to get you excited about what Jeff Hafley is doing on the recruiting trail. I saw Rivals.com had an article up yesterday that was about the recent camps that they had. I think they had a Northeast camp up on Rivals. And they listed their winners, and one of their winners was Boston College. And the reason they had it was every recruit was talking about Jeff Hafley. So for those folks that think that he can't recruit the Northeast, the recruits themselves are saying otherwise because they're talking about him a lot. But it's not just the Northeast recruits that BC has interest in. We're kind of going around the block here. We started in Georgia. We went to Virginia. Now let's go all the way across the country to California. And this recruit right now that I'm about to talk about is the biggest recruit Boston College could land under Jeff Hafley in the 3 years he's been here. This is bigger than Drew Kendall. This is bigger than CJ Burton. And they are in great shape with this kid. And many of you may not even know about it because we're all so busy talking about Samson Okanlola and all these other kids. I'm talking about Roderick Pleasant. And again, he's a defensive back out of Junipero Serra in California. He's class of 23. Okay. Here is his rankings right now. According to 247 Sports, he's the 70th ranked recruit, which is about what Burton is. I think Burton was a top 100. He's the number 9 cornerback in the entire country and the number 8 recruit in California. And why is he so excited? Because this kid has speed you would never, ever get at Boston College. This is like Zay Flowers on speed, on crack speed. He is a track athlete who just broke the California single season record for a 100-meter dash. He ran it in about, I think it was like 10.2. He is electric with his speed. And I apologize if I also screwed up his timing, but I'm telling you right now that he has the speed of anyone. Like you want the speediest guys on your defense. This guy is it. I'm telling you. He has he's 5'11", 180. He's a 4-star. He's right now battling, but BC is in a battle with Oregon and USC. That tells you where they're at. And I'm telling you, BC has a chance here, folks. You need to hear what he said to 247 Sports. Find this in their article about his official visits. He said, "I'm looking for the best fit for me and where I think I can get developed the best. I really like the Boston College coaches a lot, and I have a great relationship with them. That's another big factor, finding a school where I trust the coaches, and I have that with the BC staff." He says head coach Jeff Hafley has been personally involved with Pleasant, and DB coach Azar Abdul-Rahim is the lead recruiter. I like those guys a lot, Pleasant said. They have worked and developed a lot of great defensive players over the years, and I'm excited to get out there and see the school up close. I've heard nothing but good things about them and the school in general. Trust me, I have real interest in this program. I wouldn't use an official visit on a school that I wasn't seriously interested in, and that could be the best fit for me. We'll see. So, does that sound like a kid that's just kind of just doing the motions, like maybe like with Okanlola? No, this kid is absolutely a potential for Boston College. They need to nail this official visit, because if they do, this kid could be, as I just said, the biggest commitment Boston College has landed under Jeff Hafley. I think Roderick Pleasant would be a fine jewel to this class and really show where Boston College recruiting is heading, where they're able to do it, and to do it in California. This would be the second straight year Boston College has landed a 4-star defensive back from California. Remember, Sione Hala, who's going to be a safety linebacker hybrid, was also he was from St. John's Bosco, another big program out there. So keep your eyes open on Roderick Pleasant. I don't think he'll be a quick he won't make a commitment quick. It sounds like he's going to do a lot of his decisions and his visits. He's going to take all 5 of his visits. So it might be a slow roll, but I think BC's definitely got a chance there, and he's going to be one that I think every BC fan needs to bookmark and kind of keep an eye on, because he could be the next big eagle to land for Jeff Hafley. Thank you all for listening. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk some more football stuff. You're going to want to hear it all about it. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all again soon. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at AJBlack_BC or at LockedOnBC. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.